To all of the young workers and young entrepreneurs in the audience, we live in a very unique time. I'm going to talk about one sector, which might be the most boring sector. It's finance and payments. But I think hopefully what I'm trying to share by the end of today is every sector in India is exploding, and we live in a globally unique, once-in-a-generation time where we can impact the lives of hundreds of millions of people. I'm going to try and simplify what's happening. You hear a lot about Paytm and EasyTap and all kinds of things going on, and that there's a revolution in India. What I wanted to do is bring it down to kind of 4 things and just make it as simple as I can and show you the impact of what's going on in India. There is going to be a transformation where not only everybody that is in urban cities are going to be able to pay digitally with different magical instruments, but you're going to see the impact of finance and instruments go down even to the lowest level. Up until now, there's been a huge push for people to use cash. And we would go around saying, hey, there's no way that this is possibly the way India and 1 billion people are going to transact. And I would go and plead to venture capitalists and talk to everybody I knew and said, India will go digital. People will start paying not with cash, but with other forms of instruments. It could be a credit card, it could be a wallet, it could be something else. The Prime Minister took everything that I've been saying is going to happen over 10 years and made it happen overnight. And I have to tell you, it is one of the boldest things I've ever seen any leader do anywhere. So, number 1, we are living in a unique time when massive amounts of people will have access, get comfortable with, and start using digital instruments. You can have 1 billion people with credit cards ready to use them. But if there's a business or a bank that isn't able to accept them, it's useless. There's a lot of interesting companies that are helping consumers have access to digital instruments. EasyTap does is it helps a bank in a rural village, a merchant right near your house, be able to accept whatever instrument your consumers have. This digitization is happening, and there's many ways that we can enable it. So one is, how do we accept digital payments? Number 2, companies are saying we don't want to just accept a transaction. We want to use software. The difference between us going into a Meru taxi cab and using Uber is very, very different. The Uber experience is a wonderful experience. It changes so many things about the way the world works. Every single business in this country can use software to get better, to be more inclusive, to make magical customer experiences happen. And it's not just the high-tech companies like Amazon and Flipkart and Uber that are doing it. One of the cases I like to point to, every household in this country buys cooking gas from 3 companies. And the government a while ago said, we will digitize this. Very soon, when the person comes to deliver your gas cylinder, they will be using a mobile application. So when you have software, which is one massive trend, interacting and controlling all of our interactions, and you have people who want to pay digitally, if you're in the boring world of financial services, you have a unique opportunity. Never before in the history of the world has a country of this size seen both of these trends happen simultaneously. Now here's the good thing if you're an entrepreneur. When you're starting at nothing, the only place to go up is massively high. And when you get 2 trends like this coming together, it changes everything. So this is why there is a massive change happening in financial services. And this is why companies like us, companies like wallet companies like Paytm and others are growing at astronomical rates. When software is more important than the transaction, all of the what we call incumbent barriers to entry are irrelevant. And what I'm trying to tell you today is don't be afraid of the big guy in town. This country will see its economy leap. We will see use cases happen. We will see people with no credit getting credit. You will see money moving from point A to point B never seen. And none of it will be driven by banks or the old players. It'll all be driven by new software companies. And it'll be driven by companies that are just started in the last 5 years or potentially companies that you guys start in the next year or 2. Because there's a funny thing that happens. When the transaction doesn't matter and it's the software that does matter, when it's going over a mobile phone, which anybody has access to, anybody can come in and drive the value. So you take this huge change in the economy and you make it so that new companies can come in and control the user experience. You make it so that the old incumbents are no longer important. All of this stuff is going to streamline payments and transactions. And we'll be able to put a bank branch in a village with just a mobile phone. And we'll be able to do that in 1 year. But another interesting thing happens. When all of this data starts going into what we call the cloud, whether it's with Google or other companies, you start changing everything. India has done in one step one of the most amazing initiatives I've seen around getting rid of cash, but we've also done some other stuff. The Indian government has created one of the best technology stacks in the world. And what that means is they've allowed us to do things like identify you with just your fingerprint, transfer money at no cost. So when you take data and you use all of these great things that the Indian government has given, you're going to change everything. Let's just say that farmer in Gujarat gets their LPG cylinder month over month over month. We start actually seeing that person transact. We actually know who that person is. We start seeing their location. We can transfer money to them and back. The way India has worked is that there's been never any credit for those type of people. Why? Because we don't know who they are. We don't know their financial history. We don't know where they are. We don't know how to give them money and how to get money back. But what's going to happen now is we're going to bring all of this data into the hands of software companies, and we're going to open it up to anybody. And then we'll actually be able to give that farmer a loan based on a small transaction history. And the impact, when I at the very beginning, is that we can change the lives of hundreds of millions of people. It's not just about accepting a credit card or transferring money with a click of an app. It's actually about bringing data into the cloud and using that to change the economy. So I think in about 5 years, you'll see all lending to the underserved of this country being driven through mobile applications, not by a bank branch, not by somebody coming to a village, not with any paperwork. I'm going to end with this. Please remember, these opportunities come around once in a generation. And every single one of you can start a company in every sector and leverage both the macro trends of the country we live in and what's happening, and your brains and software, and do some amazing stuff. And we will not just create great companies. We will create a new infrastructure and a new way of doing business, which will change not just India, but will bring and change the lives of hundreds of millions of people. All of this is absolutely real, and I'm very excited. Thank you so much for your time.